Morning, Nancy. Morning, Hugh. Morning, Jim. Morning, Karen. Morning, Jim. Morning, John, the van driving legend. Still a driving god. Morning, Jillian. Malin. Morning, Ted. Awesome. Morning, Tina. Morning, Tommy. How are you today? Hope things are going well down there in Saltcoats. Or was it Ardrossan? One out of two. On the border, anyway. Right, numbers are climbing nicely, folks. You have a few more seconds to get on board. Morning, Eddie. Maggie. Dave. Fiona. Lorna. Hey, Alexander. Thank you, Jane. That's really appreciated. Thanks for buying the super sticker. That all goes to a good cause. Thank you. Right, that's enough of you on board. We're almost there, the 100 marks. Right, let's get this broadcast underway. It's Andy Truck Davey at the Truck Nut Home in his office in Salisbury, North Lanarkshire, where it is overcast, dry at the moment, 7 degrees. About right for this time of year. Right, this is the news review for the 22nd of the 2nd, 2023 from the colony of Scotland. All right. Thursday started with a mixed bag in the rags. Hide and seek killer is the story in the Red Tops. It's a story about a mother and child murdered in Dundee. Right? The eye tells us, this is a cracker, this one. The eye tells us that Liz Truss is making a comeback. Thank you, John. Very generous. Liz Truss is making a comeback. That Truss, imagine, the one that crashed the economy and thought she was Margaret Thatcher, is making a comeback. You couldn't make her stop up, right, apparently. Now, the eye says Truss is coming back from a break after stepping down as Prime Minister and is coming back to demand growth-driving policies. It would appear she's still as mad as a hatter, given there is no way to grow the UK economy. The UK trade deficit is growing and exports are in decline. All right. Now, that's not me that's saying that, folks. Okay. This is according to the International Monetary Fund, the OECD, the OBR, the IFS, and the Office for National Statistics. They all tell us the economy is in decline. And the rest of the world, not just the EU, the rest of the world doesn't want to deal with us anymore either. Westminster is seen as a bad faith actor. So there's no way to grow this economy until there's A, a change of government, and B, a change of a plan on our biggest market, the EU. Without rejoining the single market, there is no buccaneering blighty, free on the oceans to make the rain future. That's not how it works. The international community will decide what happens to the UK, and the vultures are suckling. Thank you, Geordie. That's generous of you. And thanks, Wolfpet, really generous. Thank you both. All right, so Truss the Mad Hatter is coming back to insist that PM Rishi Sunak and Chancellor Jeremy Hunt go for growth. How do you grow an economy when you've no markets to grow into? These people are as thick and deluded as hell. Wow. The Metro tells us that growing strike action is also hitting the economy to the tune of hundreds of millions of quid. That's to be expected. When the public servant's down tools, very little functions. So your economy will lose an awful lot of money. So what's happening is Westminster are trying to break the unions, or the Tories are trying to break the unions, but in the meantime it's costing us and the public purse hundreds of millions of pounds in compensation to the businesses there. unable to operate. For example, when the RMT go on strike, Network Rail gets compensated from the public purse. Sorry, the train operators get compensated from public purse. So it would have been cheaper apparently to settle the disputes and pay workers in the public sector their 10%. Apparently it would be cheaper. But no. This corrupt UK government is honing out their money like sweeties to their pals and the train operators and other businesses that are relying on public servants to help them run. Unbelievable. I wonder how much the airports are getting compensated for when the border control staff go on strike. Because you can bet your boots they will be. Right. Anyway, so the strikes are also hitting their pockets. The right-wing gammon rag The Express says the Scottish Government must take more action to halt strikes. The Express says 50,000 people were on strike in Scotland on Wednesday. Daily says it was nearer 5. The Express is a loony gammon rag, and anybody that reads it's a gammon loony. The PCS was out on strike here in Scotland. There was a couple of regions in Scotland that were hit with teacher strikes, and a few hundred on the railways because of the RMT action. That was the extent of the strikes. Here in Scotland, the firemen haven't went out on strike yet. The nurses, the midwives, the doctors, none of them went out on strike yet. Well, so the gammon rag tells lies. The National says PM mocked over claims at Prime Minister's question that Brexit wasn't hitting the UK consumers in the pocket. According to Sunak, it's no Brexit and the inflation that's driven that's hitting the UK in the pocket. According to Sunak at Prime Minister's questions, it's that naughty Putin that's doing it with his terrible war in the Ukraine. It's not 12 years, 13 years of economic mismanagement by the Tories. No, that's not that. It's naughty Putin that did it. Right, moving on. The Rancid runs on a football story. Stacey over Jim Baxter's shirt. Who cares? The Herald runs a story that went right over my head yesterday. Teachers say toxic positivity leads to bullying and fails pupils. Now, if anybody knows what toxic positivity is, please leave it in the comments, because I have no bloody idea. But the big story of the day, of course, was broke in the Times. And that was an excellent piece of investigative journalism, where the Times caught Centrica and British Gas with their trousers round their ankles and breaking into people's houses and putting in prepaid meters. Vulnerable people's houses. Turns out it was happening in Scotland too. I thought it was only happening in England. Centrica have now said that they'll stop applying for mass warrants to do this. But you can bet your boots that whatever warrants have already got in their grubby little paws will be used before they stop. No happy with gouging people. Now they want to cut them off if they can't afford to be gouged. And all being permitted by our imperial masters in the House of Thieves and Carpetbaggers is the sleaze. Ducks with ceiling runs down the walls and who's out the front fecking doors into the lobbies. So there you have it. Centrica using bully boy tactics and breaking into people's houses so that if they can't afford to be gouged, they can be cut off. What a lovely, compassionate society we live in. And somewhere in this rotten shithole, there was a judge signing off on this stuff. Oofed. Throw him off the bar. But they probably took him to a bar and go and pushed him, go to sign them all. Right, let's move on, shall we? Moving on, Thursday here in Scotland starts with a land buyout story. Buccleuch Estates, owned by the Duke of Buccleuch, sells the whole of Langham Moor. Aye, that's right, the whole of Langham Moor. It's a decade massive area. He sells the whole of Langham Moor to a conservation company called Oxygen Conservation, and apparently Oxygen Conservation intends to restore the moor while exploiting it to make a profit. Anybody any idea how that works? What I do know is that land should be bought by our government, but we shouldn't have to buy any land back. It's our land. Scots own very little of Scotland, do you know that? Wow. Right, moving on to Thursday, and it's being rumoured councils across Scotland to shed 7,000 jobs to save money. Well, I'm really sorry to say this, folks, but you who have watched this programme regularly will know that I have been predicting this. You know, the cuckoos in the nest can scream blue murder all they want about this. Thank you, Roddy. That's very, very generous of you. Thank you. The cuckoos in the nest can scream blue murder about this all they want. But the fact is, Davey's been pointing this out. Thank you, Stevie. Davey's been pointing this out for a long time now. Westminster cuts the Scottish Government budget. Disney adjusted for inflation. Inflation, cost of living crisis, and Brexit are whacking everybody's budgets. And public sector employees are quite rightly looking for an inflation-busted pay rise. Davey said this months ago, when you're looking for your inflation-busted pay rises, look each other in their eyes. Look each other in your eyes and say, whose job is it that's gone? Because this was an inevitable. So things like classroom assistants, cleaners, janitorial staff, they're all going to get whacked here. Including cleansing and leisure and libraries, they're all going to get whacked here. But Davey did say, and we've got the cuckoos in the nest screaming blue murder while their imperial masters cut the Scottish budget by 5% and didn't adjust it to inflation. So I'm sorry, people get what they vote for. In 2014, the people of Scotland voted not to have their own magic money tree and to allow the idiot next door to run our economy and our assets. I hope the no voters for 2014 have learnt their bloody lessons. Scotland is an outrageously rich nation. And thanks to the no voters in 2014, our children are waking up in poverty instead of waking up to the challenges of building a new, greener, fairer society. Well, I hope you learnt your lessons, unionists, if you're no arse in your trousers, holes in your shoes, and the kids are gone hungry. Did warn you this was coming. Also warned you about devolution being under attack after the no vote in 2014. Not just me, we all warned each other. And we all warned the no voters what would happen to the NHS and what would happen to our place in Europe if they voted no. And look what's happening. People get what they vote for, except for when it comes to Westminster general elections. Right, moving on to Thursday. And the next story actually that I've picked for Thursday is to cheer you all up, folks. So it is. Because it's Friday and I want to send you away in the weekend on a happy note. So, Thursday, and the Trump Group announces losses of 4.4 million at Trump's two Scottish resorts. The Balmedy Resort lost 669,000 quid 2021-2022, and the Thornbury Estate lost 3.7 million. Just to slap mere comedy onto irony, Trump, who supported Brexit, is blaming Brexit for the losses at his Scottish golf clubs. Brilliant. That should cheer you up, guys. Okay, Right. Right, moving on Thursday, and a new train station opens up at Inverness Airport. The train station is on a loop of the Inverness Aberdeen line, and it'll open up Inverness Airport to the people of Aberdeen, and Aberdeen Airport to the people of Inverness, vice versa. And it also opens up that stretch in the northeast for visitors as well as for business. Because if you're heading for the rigs and you can't get a flight to Aberdeen, you can now get a flight to Inverness and jump on the train. So it'll be an economic bonus for the area up there. Okay. Right. So new train station at Inverness Airport. Great news for the local economy. Great news for visitors. Great news for the area. So another good news story. Trump loses fortune. Inverness gets itself a new train station. Right, moving on Thursday, and lunchtime rolls around, and First Minister's questions is on. All right, the Douglas Ross continued the false rage, the false rage over this transgender rapist. You know, this is false rage. I don't hear anybody talking about this crap in the streets. You know, I know my village, they like to talk politics in my village and talk current affairs, and they're not talking about this at all. Moving on, Douglas Ross is on the transgender rapist, and he asked the First Minister, do you think the transgender rapist is a man or a woman? And the First Minister's a wee bit confused looking and saying, I said, where are we going with this? But she says to him, at the time that the crimes occurred, the person was identified as a male. Dross then goes on about the transgender racist who identified as a male at the time of the rapes, but then changed his sex, or tried to change his sex, or whatever, how it works. Attended Ayrshire College and did a beauty course before they were convicted of anything. And he reads a wee bit in the paper about some student saying that she'd been sticking up in front of this guy. I don't know what the day in beauty courses at Ayrshire College, but wow, I'm sure if it was a tanning salon or something like that, they would have been appropriately covered in a bathing suit or something like that. But really, so now in Scotland we're at the stage where somebody no convicted of a crime is to be denied education. Is it just me? Because I thought the First Minister thought this guy was a loony yesterday, or all this Ross. Then Douglas Ross tries to conflate this one transgender offender with the whole of the transgender population in Scotland. It was a horrific thing to watch. And then he was back on asking the First Minister if she thought it was a man or a woman that committed the rapes. The First Minister has to tell him again, at the time of the offences, the person identified as a man. Afterwards changed their gender. The point that Dross was trying to make was that almost everybody would do the same thing. Anybody commits a rape, they'll just try and change their gender to get into a woman's prison. Whenever that's about pushing over the line. You know, where this stuff actually works in 42 other nations around the world, none of these things have come up. Conveniently, when Scotland goes to pass that legislation which Westminster doesn't like, all of a sudden the transgender rapist is on the scene. I smell a rat. Wow. Anyway, Douglas Ross's performance was that outrageous and shocking that even the Tories sitting behind him looked not just bemused but looked horrified as well. Absolutely no idea why this guy is carrying on a Tory culture war crap stunt in our Parliament here in Scotland. We expect that in Westminster with a Tory culture war, but we don't expect that in our Parliament. And after all, that's a bloody circus, the House of Thieves and Carpetbaggers. A long year has been quite a successful Parliament. Right, moving on. Next up was Poverty Pie. And Poverty Pie went on cuts to council budgets. the First Minister's going to point out to Poverty Pie, there hasn't been any cuts to budgets. They're getting money. It's just the money's not gone as far. They're getting extra 576 million actually. But Poverty Pie is on poverty. You know, you imagine a man that's creating poverty within the people that work for him. It's talk about councils and how it would affect the poor and how they're going to lose X amount of jobs, and it's all the Scottish Government's fault. When the cuckoo in the nest knows that his imperial masters in London have been cutting our budget. Never trust a red or blue Tory to tell you a word of truth. Truth is, Westminster cuts their budget. Central government cuts budget to councils. Councils shed jobs. It's how it always works with Tory austerity or anybody's austerity. But to have one of the thick cuckoos in the nest treat the Scottish people with such contempt is not very gratifying. To watch a unionist stand and treat the Scottish people with the contempt that Sarwar treats the Scottish people, that Douglas Ross treats the Scottish people, turns your stomach. You know, for umpteen years in a row, we've been the most politically aware population in Europe. In Europe. And here we've got two idiots standing in our parliament trying to tell the Scottish government to shake a magic money tree which lies 500 miles away in fucking Westminster, and they opted not to uproot and bring home. It's almost as mad as when they were asking us the currency question. We fucking invented banking, and they're asking us how we're going to do a currency. Mental. And to treat the Scottish people as that stupid and with that sort of contempt turns my stomach. But as I said earlier, people get what they vote for. People thought that their pittance of a pension, which is the lowest in the OECD nations, and their crap living standards was worth voting no for. Faking spanners. I hope they've learned their lesson. Polls tend to say they're learning their lessons. Right, moving on Thursday, and Angus Brendan McNeill tweets that under the 2016 Scotland Act, the First Minister can call an early election with a simple majority in the Scottish Parliament. We know that. That's never been the argument here. We could crash the Scottish Parliament and have a Scottish plebiscite election, but there's still boxes to be ticked. Supreme Court says that the Scottish Parliament doesn't have the competency to run a referendum or a single issue election on this issue. So a Westminster election as a mandate would probably be the way this is going to go. Because we could dissolve the Scottish Parliament now, have that single issue election, and Westminster won't recognise it. Because the Constitution's reserved. We send 59 MPs in there and tell them we're having a plebiscite election, whether they like it or no. Because they 59 MPs are our side of that treaty bargaining. Then the idea is it'll be more legitimate in the international community. We'll see how this goes when we get to the conference in March. I'm beginning to see the way this is going to pan out. 2024 mandate for an election, a Scottish plebiscite election, and whether they then dissolve the Scottish Parliament straight after it or go on to 2026 before having that, I can see that's where this has gone. And that's because of the Supreme Court ruling. Supreme Court said the Scottish Parliament didn't have the competence to hold a referendum on the issue, so a single issue election would be a de facto referendum. Supreme Court says they don't have the power to do it. So there's the arguments that are going to be laid out at the conference. I'll see you all there. But it's good that we're having this discussion. And Angus is right to bring this up. I would prefer it was a Scottish plebiscite election as well. And if that means a Westminster election to ratify it, and then the result in the Scottish Parliament holding it, then so be it. Right, also Thursday, the Bioline Times runs a story saying that a majority of unionists in Northern Ireland now favour dumping the Good Friday Agreement. The Good Friday Agreement was popular and is popular with the people of Northern Ireland, with a 71% vote share when it was put before the people of Northern Ireland in the referendum in 1998. You know, spoke to some friends out there and spoke to a correspondent, Fiona, about this in the past. It would appear that a lot of unionists had no idea what they were voting for, apparently. But they're not the brightest. But hey, it would appear that unionists want to dump the Good Friday Agreement. And the reason for that, folks, is quite simple. The Good Friday Agreement was put in place because we can see the point where we're at now, where the majority in Northern Ireland would be nationalists. I say, because the majority of nationalists are Catholic, and Catholics don't use contraception, except for the public method, so they tend to have more wings. They were always going to outbreed the unionists, who tend to be religious fundamentalists and have small families. So, the unionists are now the minority in Northern Ireland, and now they want the border up, because they can see unity coming in 10, maybe 12 years, 15 years' time. They can see Irish reunification coming. There's two ways they can deal with it. They've got a decade or so to move out of the bloody province, back to Mother England, or to wherever. Just don't come here. We've got enough loonies in our bloody streets. Or, you know, they can get on board with it. And so there you go. I tend to agree with you there, Marty. A general strike is on its way. Right, Thursday, let's take a quick bomb down the road to the House of Thieves and Carpetbaggers, and then wind this one off after we have the newspaper review, of course. Right, moving on Thursday, and the highlights of the House of Thieves and Carpetbaggers. Sunak under pressure over his own tax arrangements. Dominic Raab's inquiry goes on as a 28th allegation is made against Raab. And the Whitehall whistleblower tells us that Sunak knew about Raab's complaints about bullying about Raab when he appointed him to the job. So when Sunak came to office, he knew that Raab was under investigation for bullying, and still he appointed him as Deputy Prime Minister and Justice Secretary. Oofed. Right, mental. And also yesterday, the Equalities Committee took evidence on whether the GRR breaks the Equalities Act, UK Act. No conclusions yet, but we can guess where it's going. They're going to say, aye, it is. They're going to back up the Governor General of Scotland, Alistair Jack, and Section 35 order was substituted on, and the Scottish Government will end up in the courts. And that's what all this GRR crap papers are about. All right. So well, we see what crap's in the papers this morning, folks, shall we? I hope you found that interesting. I hope you found it informative, folks. Let's have a look and see what's in the papers this morning. Scotland's papers. Killed for looking like his wife and power crazy. Right, the Courier says accused talked of apocalyptic rage before killing, and defendant says that he went mental because the lassie he killed looked like his wife. And he said he might have killed a second child if one had been there. Now the Metro goes on, power crazy, and that's British Gas and beckoning into people's houses. And we also have the story of Shell having record profits of 32 billion quid. I was going to mention it in a video, but there was no in this programme, but there was no point. You all know about it. You know, they've been gouging us left, right, and centre. You know, the eye has energy firm ordered to stop force-fitting prepaid meters in Britain's poorest homes. The Times goes on, British Gas banned from force-fitting new meters. We'll come back to that. The Rancid has, if they own Baxter's shirts, then what is this? So the Daily Record still run the football story. Now Tartan Army legend claimed he bought iconic Scotland top. Oh well. What else we got? The Scotsman says leaders say 7,000 council jobs to go and budget cuts. People get what they voted for in 2014. They voted to leave their finances, their vast wealth and assets in the hands of the half-wits next door. Wow. And the Scots are supposed to be bright, intelligent people. The Herald has action call over mould risk to social housing terrace. Of course, there's a bloody going to be a mould outbreaks in these houses. Nobody can afford to bloody well heat them. Well, the National says MPs back Monday's progressive budget. Didn't bother ask for that either. We'll talk about that when it gets through stage 3 and it's passed, all right? And Sarwar under fire for Party of Workers claim. SNP Brock says branch office boss has some goal where Labour are just a pale imitation of the Tories. Two cheats of the same bahookie. All right. The Telegraph goes on, lockdown damage to workforce is permanent. So what the practice says, there won't be as many people in the workforce as what there used to be because of the lockdowns. It's not true. There was about 500,000 people my age decided they'd had enough. But that's not the reason why they're called the inactive or underactive when they do the unemployment surveys. And but permanent damage to the workforce, that was Brexit. We could have fought the 500,000 jobs, no bother. Right, the Scottish Daily Express says, don't jump for joy just yet, but slump to end next year. We're only in January 2023. And actually, I haven't seen a bloody forecast that says things are going to get any better soon. Come out of negative growth into just positive growth, and 0.0 figures. Mental. Right, what else we got? Let's see what the stars go for us today. It's Friday. Let's hope the stars going to cheer us up. Right, the star. Scumbag alert. You dirty, rotten scoundrel. As people freeze in their own homes, energy supplier Shell announces profits of 32.2 billion. And meanwhile, Harper's British Gas admit agents broke into vulnerable customers' homes. Absolutely outrageous. Bandit land. So it is. Now, on the vast profits being made by the energy companies, what's interesting about that, folks, and I'm going to go into a wee bit more detail on it next week when BP release their figures, but this windfall tax, it hasn't gathered any money. Out of that 32 billion, whatever was produced in the North Sea, Shell expect to pay 100 million in a windfall tax this year. Nothing in 2022, 100 million this year and 400 million next year. That's their windfall tax. It's not 25%, it's not 30% of their profits made here in the UK waters. They're getting rid of it because they get 91 pence back for every time they buy a hammer. They call it investment returns. So, the energy companies were gouging the shit out of us, but we'll go into that in more detail next week, probably after the 7th, because we're waiting on BP's returns to see whether they are okay. Right, that's the papers for the day, folks. That's what vote fees. We're on the weekend. David and I will be back on Monday. So I hope you have a great weekend. Now remember, support the independent media, support Broadcasting Scotland, Independence Live, and the Live Radio, Caldon Media, Trues Radio, the iScot magazine, the national newspaper, support independent blogs and bloggers. And if we've got a crowdfunder going, thank you all who contributed to the food banks today. If you can help, do help, please. We're in for a rough year. A few years, actually. Because we're still a while away from being independent. Even if we had that vote the more and declared, there's still 2 or 3 years of negotiations to go on. So we're hearing Stephen Flynn at Westminster saying that Scotland will be independent by the end of the decade. That would imply a 2026 West Scottish election. and the negotiations to begin from there. Okay, so that's where we're at. Keep your eyes on your prize, keep your eyes on the prize, keep momentum, keep going. And share this around if you want to. If you're on YouTube, press the like button. It really helps the channel, thanks. Okay, if you're on Facebook, give me a couple of minutes to change it to public before you share it. Now, have a great weekend, folks. And remember, clean hands and surface regularly. If you're not feeling well, well, I've got a wee cold today, so I'm going to show. I'm going to mask up. Okay, have a nice weekend. We'll see you on Monday. Bye for now.